A Super Bowl champion.
The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
A game winner for Mason Crosby.
It's time for the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nellis on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network proudly brings to you the Mason Crosby Show with Tommy Kmart Wirtz, with Mitch Thunder Nellis, and special guest star for the first segment today, the Rom Dog.
Hit my music.
Machloof.
I thought we were doing the wrestling.
Macloff. Oh, we should.
I thought we were doing the wrestling.
We were. I mean, that was a little D-Generation X.
What's your music, Ramie?
I think I'd probably go with the Stone Cold Steve Austin entrance.
Oh, when you hear the ass, when you hear the glass, it's your ass.
Yeah. If you guys have that handy, I'll take that.
We don't, but we have YouTube handy.
Okay,
so that does work.
What's up, YouTube?
How you doing, man?
Y'all don't get to see me.
This is what Ramie looks like. Yes.
How you doing?
He's not being coon blocked anymore.
Thank you.
Nice.
There it is.
Just the glass. I love it. How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
Long time no talk or see.
Yeah, it's been 7 minutes?
Did it just go red?
It just, of course.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Come on, Mitch.
I didn't do it. Brandon broke the camera.
Just keep talking around.
This is how he left it for me. So if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, you can see my tummy, which is amazing. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that.
Yeah, that went straight to your stomach.
Nobody.
Straight to your stomach.
Yeah, my tummy talks a lot,
and now it's
but it's not talking right now.
Now it's looking at your supplements.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And amino acids are so interesting. So we had Matt Spiegel on the show yesterday.
Yes. Love Spiegs.
Yeah, Spiegs is great. 104.3 and 670 the score, of course, in Chicago. And we were talking about how at the Cubs-White Sox game, the Green Bay Sucks chant broke out. And then they talked about it yesterday on the afternoon show.
Yeah.
And they were like making fun of Thunder, of course. They're like, oh, what's his real name? Nobody knows his real name. And then he called me Mitch. So I was like, all right, good bit, whatever.
Yeah.
But we got into it a little bit at the end of your show, and I wanted to keep the conversation going, so we had you come back on. Like, if Chicago fans at a non-football game, non-Green Bay event, non-competition against a Milwaukee or Wisconsin team are chanting Green Bay sucks, like there's something, like I get it that it's a rivalry. But I don't, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got to call my friends from Boston, but I don't remember Yankees sucks chants at Celtics games. I remember Yankees sucks chants at Red Sox games that maybe were not between the Red Sox and Yankees.
Okay,
it might have been that.
Let's take each situation on its own.
Okay.
Cubs Sox playing over the weekend. And I'm sure there's a lot of like infighting, among those two fan bases that reside in the same city.
Yeah.
I think that sort of started as a joke. Like somebody or some buddies were like, hey, let's unite over something. Let's chant. That's one thing we all agree on. We're all Bears fans here.
There was a delay in the game. The umpires were figuring something out.
Yeah. So let's chant Green Bay sucks and all come together over something that we all share and love.
Yeah.
So I think that's, and I thought it was a funny moment more than anything when I was watching that game and that chant broke out.
Yeah.
So I think you're maybe just putting a little bit too much into it in that particular case.
I think two things can be true. I think both are true. I think that it's a feeling of community for Chicagoans. I think there is something to that. But I also think it means if that's the first thing you go to, then that means that the Packers are in your head. Yeah, like they just are.
Also,
but I would also argue for Chicago fans, the Packers should be in your head. You've been chasing the Packers for 100 years. You finally, standings wise,
caught up to them.
Head to head wise, have caught up to them. Like, it's not a bad thing that the Packers are living rent free in your head, as long as you're not letting it like get to a detrimental place.
Sure.
Like, again, as a rivalry in sports fandom, that's an okay place to be.
Yeah. I mean, in your head, that may, I don't know. Again, this is sort of semantics. When you say, are the Bears always on Chicagoans' minds? Yeah, probably. That's the number one sport and the number one team in that town, especially with the baseball fan base being divided by two different teams. So it is a sports town through and through. Chicago is. the Bears are the number one team in that sports town, and the Packers are their number one rivalry. So is it always sort of top of mind, especially if you're at a sporting event? Yeah, probably. Does that mean that they're quote unquote in your head? Because I feel like that when you say they're in your head, I feel like that's a derogatory thing.
And it is a little derogatory.
What's the difference between in your head and top of mind, though?
Because in your head makes it seem like we're tormented by it.
Yes,
like we,
which I think Bears fans are a little bit.
Are totally tormented.
Even having had a better season last year, there's still a little torment there from the last 20 years.
I said this during a break when you came in here and we're talking about it, and you guys just flat out said you don't believe me, and if we're just not going to take each other at face value and believe what the other is saying, I don't know why we're even talking.
I live in America, Ramie. I only believe what I believe, and it doesn't matter what somebody else says.
I've been at AmFam Field and leaving a game, and as folks are making their way down the concourse, heard a Bears still suck chant break out. So it's not unique to us. And
You're right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a healthy rivalry, and it doesn't mean that they're necessarily in your head either way, going one way or the from Chicago to Green Bay or Green Bay to Chicago in a derogatory way. I think it's just a healthy rivalry that we all sort of enjoy being a part of and love to hate the other. And so anytime we get a chance to express that hate, we will take that opportunity.
So then to Mitch's point, is it not crazy that it's at a Bruno Mars concert? Like, is that not,
that's a little crazy.
Is that not crazy? If you want to take this like, hey, we're at a sporting event, top of mind sports, it's a sports town that is all, the Bears are king in this market, then why can't you just like separate art from sport then when you're going through it? And if you're trying to at a Bruno Mars concert, you're going to say it that's not rent-free. That feels rent-free.
I think sports are always top of mind in that town. And I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have evidence of it. I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened at a concert in Wisconsin where they took the opportunity to take a shot or do a chant at a Chicago sports team. I wouldn't be even a little bit surprised if that ever. I'm sure I've probably seen it, and it's just not coming to mind right now. And I don't think that means that it's like it's quote unquote living in your head. You know,
it probably has happened in Boston.
It's fun.
Where sports it's not a Red Sox game where people are chanting Yankees.
Sports are fun.
All right, follow-up question, because we talked about this yesterday, and then they talked about it on the score. Rank the. Right now I think Bears and Packers fans are kind of like arguing over who's the better coach, who's the better quarterback, who's the better team.
Okay.
Of those three, coach, quarterback, team, which are you most confident that Chicago is better than Green Bay in? Because Spiegel and I agreed, and then they talked about it on their show yesterday afternoon, and they also agreed.
That was nice.
I would go in this order.
Yeah.
And
I just want your number one to start with.
Coach.
Yes. I think I think that is almost unanimous.
Yes.
That when you compare the Bears and the Packers, whether it's quarterback or team or coach, Ben Johnson has some voodoo magic over Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur might not be that great. Like both of those could be true as well.
And I don't even know that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Matt LaFleur. We have 1 year of sample size of Ben Johnson as a coach to say that. But if I don't know what like how you would do this, but if you were having some sort of coaching competition, and I don't even think that just means like who wins the head-to-head game, because there are a lot of variables other than if there was like some sort of test that you could give to determine who was the best coach or you could do the same at quarterback, or you could do the same with the roster. I like Ben Johnson's chances of beating Matt LaFleur in that test or in that competition than I do the other categories that you're giving me, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Okay. It does. Yeah.
So then you went quarterback too.
And then I would go quarterback, and then I would go, and then I would go team.
You're more convinced that the Packers have a better roster than a better quarterback than your team?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, just because when you have like a Micah Parsons on the edge, that edge rusher is a premium position in this league. It's probably the second most valued behind quarterback. And that guy is if not the best, second best at that position in this league. I think that when you just look around the roster, and I don't love what the Bears have done with their roster this offseason. I don't mind admitting that. I think that again, if you were to put it into some computer or some algorithm and spit out who that they thought had the better team, I think more times than not it would come out Packers.
I have one more question for you, Ramie.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a chance because I gave Spiegel a chance yesterday. Would you like to disavow what Pete Crow Armstrong did over the weekend? Otherwise, you can condone it if you would rather.
or you can, yeah.
I don't mind it.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think Pat Murphy would let that fly on the Brewers?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree. I do.
do
I
not
too.
think so.
Because
there's
If
no
fans
way.
interject themselves
No way.
into the game, absolutely, yeah.
I think
Pat Murphy's going to be like, you can stand your ground.
Pat Murphy lets guys be themselves.
Sure, but I think Pat Murphy's like, if you want to tell them to shut the hell up, that's different than S my FDB, you know, like that's
so the salty language is what you got a problem with.
I mean, that felt like the situation got escalated a little more than it needed to in my mind. And I'm someone who
It's probably true. It probably did by PCA.
Have you met Sox fans?
Yeah, they're dirty. They're dirty.
Well, again, that's just my thought on it.
That's fair.
All I'm saying.
I don't mind that he seems to be willing and able to play the villain. This isn't the first time that PCA has taken shots or mixed it up with fans. He made some, I don't want to say derogatory, but not so flattering comments about Dodgers fans before this season started, and they took exception with that.
Yeah.
And
he's a little bit of a dirtbag.
Ramie,
He's a little bit of a dirtbag.
I mean, sure, that's one way to describe it.
Would you like to make a wager on the season series for Brewers Cubs, and whoever wins the most games, the loser has to dye their hair blue?
Nah, I'm good. I value this hair way too much, man.
I mean, it'll come back.
Yeah, I know. I don't think the wife would appreciate that.
That's fair.
Right,
kind of father has blue hair. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
wow.
FTB, baby, father to be. Let's go. Yeah, that's what that stands for.
After the PCA comments.
That's right. Relax. Man, Ramie, thank you so much for staying.
Absolute pleasure
for
guys.
overtime.
Anytime.
Really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, put it on your time card.
Yeah, you
we'll
will.
be good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will.
You were
Definitely will.
you were
Yeah.
12:15 today for
Definitely do it.
All right.
See you, boys.
Thanks,
He's Ramie Mackloff. You can listen to him every Monday through Friday, 9 to noon with Kuhn and Ramie and B. Snizzle as well. This is the Mason Crosby Show. I'm Mitch Nellis. He's Tommy Wirtz. Mason's golfing today, tomorrow, and Thursday. He's back Friday. I'm off Friday because I'm doing the morning show.
Former Packers ever work?
Not so much. I
It's
mean, like,
crazy.
listen, like you make millions and you live in a different world. Like, it's just like how that works, right?
Mm.
Like, yeah. Brian Butch is going to join us around 12:40. Jack Stern is going to join us around 1. Action-packed show. Before we get to break, let's get to Ron in Rome. Ron, you're up on the Mason Crosby Show.
Hey, hi, guys. I just want to do a little social analysis here, not just sports, really.
Please do.
I grew up in a housing project in Brooklyn, and if we met richer people from Manhattan or Long Island who were dumber than a brick, but they thought they were better than you just because they had that money, our attitude was like, hey, what do you think, you're better than me? And so I went to school in Chicago from 78 to 82, and then my school's on the south side of Chicago, and I was a White Sox fan. And I've been observing White Sox and Cubs fans since then. The White Sox fans are actually more working class, and they're classier. Like I went down there with them.
They're more working class. I'm not sure they're classier.
Well, they were nice to me. They were
Okay.
nice to my grandchildren. Everybody was cool. I've been to 3 Cubs games at Wrigley Field. Guy tried to throw a beer on me from the bleachers.
He was just sharing. He was just sharing his beer.
And so I think the thing with the saying, I'm saying that the Packers suck is because they're frustrated that they're spending twice as much as the Brewers. They paid off our manager and got him to trade teams, and they still can't beat us. So the only thing they have is anytime they get over 500 with the Bears, they think they're the 85 Bears. So, I mean, this is what's
Nice.
annoying Matt LaFleur is that he can't beat him. He better beat him this year.
Ron, I agree with that. Thanks so much for the call. Love the analysis of the Chicago fans. And, listen, it's the rivalry between Brewers and Cubs fans is much stronger now than it was in the 80s and 90s when Brewers and White Sox fans really hated each other. They don't really hate each other right now because they have a common enemy. Like, they all hate the Cubs fans together. So It is interesting social dynamic there. I will give that to Ron in Rome. 414-677-1250 is the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. Get in your messages now. We're going to talk some Brewers' big win last night. We're going to talk some NBA. I know a lot of you are not huge NBA regular season fans. This is not the regular season. Special things happen almost every night in the NBA. And we had a Game 7 overtime thriller, which some people would argue is the best thing in sports in the NHL. My name's Mitch Nellis. He's Tommy Wirtz. We are the Mason Crosby Show.
Visitation and enhance the physical
And a drive to right. This ball is hammered way back and gone. A 3-run shot for Bowers, and the Brewers have put up a snowman at Wrigley. My, oh my, was that ball touched.
Touched.
Just touched. This is the Mason Crosby Show. Mitch Nelson, Tommy Wirtz with you. Mitchell Aaron Nellis and Thomas Carl Wirtz, of course.
K.
Yep. Carl, that's right. Carl with a K. Very important. Jake Bowers not only homered, hitting that 3-run homer last night, in the top of the second inning, I was listening on the radio, and they were astounded that ball didn't get out. PCA caught it like literally standing in the ivy, and they were astounded that the ball didn't catch the net, the basket.
So my guy Scott on Twitter always rides my parlays.
Okay.
Every night.
By the way, we have to talk about my parlay yesterday. I'm so mad.
And I told him Jake Bowers was 55-1 to homer twice in the game yesterday with the eyes big emoji, and it was close. I mean, that was close. It was close. It was fun. But he obviously got his 7th of the year. Mitch Nellis, I have a little bit of a pop quiz for you here.
All right. Before you get to it, let's see. Michael Bush, Suzuki, Kelly. See, I knew Kelly. So I had a parlay last night. It was Spurs money line.
Okay.
I took Vaughn to get a hit.
Yeah.
Because he destroys Imanaga, and he had 2 hits last night.
1,100 OPS versus left-handed pitching as well.
No big deal. And then I was literally like about to pick Kelly, and I'm like, I don't know. And so I picked Ian Happ, who goes 0 for 4. I actually thought I'd taken Bregman. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh no, I've Happ. And then it was like just as bad. But it was like a plus 500 something parlay that I did not hit, and I'm not happy.
I had Churio
because I
homer.
had the Spurs.
I had the over, and I had the Churio homer yesterday.
Yeah, I heard you with that.
The over was easy.
Yes.
10.5 was way too high of a number for it not to get to it.
And with the wind blowing straight out.
Right. And I think they got it by the 5th or 6th inning.
Again, the Brewers put up a snowman, and then Chicago came back with 3.
Yeah.
So it was 8-3 after 5.
Jeff Lebring loves to say snowman. Every time they get to 8, he says snowman. So I told Tim next time he talks to him, ask him to say frosty.
Yeah.
Just say they put up a frosty and see if anyone still gets it. You know what I mean?
So they might think it's like too much of like, is there a Wendy's tie-in?
Well, it's like my thought of like when people say, a couple of steaks because they got RBIs, ribeyes.
Oh,
ribeyes. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you go a little bit further into it.
Yeah.
But regardless, pop quiz time.
Yeah.
You ready
let's
here?
go. Okay. By the way, the Brewers beat the Cubs last night 9-3. They are half a game out of first place. I believe they're half a game also behind the Dodgers for the first wild card spot.
Do you know, Mr. Mitch Nellis,
Jake Bowers,
the 2 people who lead the Brewers in doubles this year?
In doubles?
Doubles.
I would say Turang and Bowers.
It is Bryce Turang. It is Jake Bowers.
Okay.
Yes. Do you know?
I knew Turang. I wasn't sure about Bowers.
Do you know who leads the Brewers in home runs?
That is definitely Jake Bowers. He has 7. Turang has 6. Does Sanchez have 6?
Sanchez has 5.
Sanchez is 5. And is that your lead?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Do you know the
How many is Yelly
three-way?
at? Oh, Yelly's up to 3.
Do you
2
know
in the past 3 days though?
3-way tie
Mhm.
for the team lead in RBIs this year?
It's got to be Bowers, Turang, and Contreras.
Correct. They all have
Okay.
27 RBIs.
How many does Mitchell have?
Mitchell has 23. Which
Yeah.
I remember. Didn't he have like 21 in like 16?
Yeah, he had
games?
14 in one game. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But hold on. Have you read everything about like his last 60 pitches he's seen? He's starting to barrel it up better.
He crushed the baseball in Minnesota.
He had a 112 exit on his single. He had a 112 exit velo.
Yeah,
that's a great exit velo.
I think his homer in Minnesota was 115 and a half.
Wow.
I think it was the hardest hit ball a Brewer has all year.
Jeez.
That's
great.
Do you know who leads the Brewers in batting average?
It is Jake Bowers.
It is Jake Bowers.
Over Bryce Turang, which is crazy.
And William Contreras.
What's Contreras up to?
287, and Bowers is 288.
Oh.
Do you know who leads the Brewers in slugging percentage?
I assume it's Bowers.
It is Jake Bowers. Bryce Turang leads the Brewers in on-base percentage, which I believe he's tops in the NL. He was kind of going into yesterday
okay.
at 403.
I mean, he was 1 for 5.
Yeah.
Yesterday
So
for
it
on
might have
base
went down
percentage.
a little bit
Yep.
from yesterday. Who do you think is second? Because you would think it's probably William Contreras, right?
On base percentage, I don't even know.
Jake Bauers has a 361 on base percentage. That is second on the Milwaukee Brewers. And Bryce Terang, who I've been clamoring needs to get paid for over a year. We have been.
Yes.
An 874 OPS.
Yep.
Very good, right? Very good.
Yeah.
Bauers is 872.
Yeah.
Also, 3 less games played, 20 less at-bats than Terang, 32 less at-bats than William Contreras.
So is this the Jake Bauers appreciation show?
Just saying that Jake Bauers, there was a lot of people calling him a platoon. There was a lot of people saying once Vaughn comes back, he needs to be out of the lineup. He is a platoon piece at best. He is not an everyday baseball player. He can't hit left-handed pitching. Meanwhile, his last 2 home runs, which is the amount of home runs Garrett Mitchell has this season, have been against left-handed pitching.
True.
And he continues to have very respectable numbers against left-handed pitching all year, which, if you know by his splits, do you know what Jake Bauers is hitting against lefties this year?
Well, he's hitting 288 on the season. So I guess against lefties, he's hitting like 278.
He is hitting 278.
He is not.
Yeah.
I literally just said that. I just took 10 points off.
He has an 881 OPS against right-handed pitching. He has an 844 OPS against left-handed pitching.
Yeah. This is all great. And Jake Bauers is proving that he should be playing every day. I don't want to get lost that in 12 games, and it's only been 12 games, Andrew Vaughn has a 928 OPS.
Sure.
Andrew Vaughn has a 442 on base, which he's not going to keep up. But if he can keep up his 486 slugging, he only has 1 home run. I think that we went literally from a week ago, 10 days ago, to a team that was so offensively bankrupt, to a team that now, I don't want to say has an embarrassment of riches, but looks like the offensive juggernaut that we saw last year when they were among the league leaders in runs all season long. That was not necessarily the case with this team as it was constituted 10 days ago. Churio coming back, Vaughn coming back. Yelich is now homered in 2 straight games. His slugging's up over 500. Now, he's only played 18 games, but if you look at OPS, Vaughn's at 928, Terang at 874, Yelich at 873, Bauers at 872. Like, put those guys, Churio's at 814. Anything over 800 is great. And how are they going to, I'm going to throw it back to you, not a pop quiz, but someone who has to dive deep into how these Brewers win baseball games. How do they keep Vaughn and Bauers in the lineup every day? Do they need to keep them in every day? Do they both need to be playing 5 out of 7 days, 6 out of 7 days? I know Bauers plays left. I know there's a DH. I know all these things. I mean, like on a existential level, how do they figure this out that both those guys play every day? And do they need to?
There's a couple solutions here. You mentioned it. Jake Bauers plays the outfield, which, yeah, he's not a plus defender out there in left field, but it is left field. So realistically, kind of hard to be a liability in one of the more meaningless outfield positions. If you're talking about the 3 of them,
Kyle Schwarber begs to differ, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Left field is
right.
You're not going to give up any triples in left field.
No,
it just doesn't happen
unless something bad happens.
Right. So keep the ball in front of you.
Yep.
Make any catch you're supposed to make.
Yep.
Go from there. The other part of it is Christian Yelich could play left field, which isn't going to happen because of his injury history now. But remember last year, it was all he's our left fielder. We're trying to work him back into left field. He's our left fielder.
Right.
If you just admit that that's not the case and you just want his bat, and you want him to be the DH, then that's not a solution anymore. The other one that I think is by far the least likely, and I do not think will happen, so do not say this is a solution and do not run with this, but Tim Dillard tried to plant in the head that Vaughn was taking ground balls at third base yesterday.
That Vaughn was?
Yes.
Okay.
Which, again, will not happen. do not think that's going to be a case. But if they got desperate, if you want to throw Vaughn at third base and Bowers at first base, when they made a defensive replacement yesterday, which they did in the 6th inning, which was crazy, they brought in Blake Perkins to go to center field
at 8-3.
They brought and then they moved over Churio to left field, and they kept Jake Bowers in the game and kept him at first base because they know he is a very solid defender.
So they
at first
took
base.
Vaughn out.
Took Vaughn out in the 6th inning yesterday.
Okay.
Are
we gonna see more of that defensive replacement in outfield affecting either Bowers or Vaughn, where they're playing the first 5 or 6 innings and then they're out?
Well, the problem is you can't sub a
For the
DH into the field,
right?
Like so,
then the pitcher
becomes a hitter, so you can't do that. But there is no excuse to not, for the time being, have Jake Bowers and Andrew Vaughn in the lineup every single day. Every single day. They need to play every single day. If you are trying to put your best lineup on the field, there is not a best lineup that does not include both of their names in it. And that's the other thing. So as much of a Jake Bowers guy as I am, I love Andrew Vaughn. I am by no means saying that Jake Bowers needs to play more than Andrew Vaughn or should be playing over Andrew Vaughn. I want both of them in the lineup every single day. Every single day. And my dream scenario is Yelich is playing left field.
Your dream scenario is that Yelich is playing left field, so that Vaughn or Bowers, they have first base DH. Okay.
Yep. One of them's the DH.
In 642 total games of professional baseball at all levels, Andrew Vaughn has played 130. I'm sorry. He's played as a fielder. Andrew Vaughn has played 642 games at first base.
Okay.
642. He's played 139 in left.
Okay.
He's played 64 in right.
Yep.
He has pitched 10 times. He has played 3 at second base, and he has played 2 at third base.
Interesting.
Yeah. He's pitched in 10 games.
Well, Vaughn's not going to the outfield.
You know what? When he was 9, that includes college. I'm sorry. He pitched at Cal. He pitched 9 games in 2017. Pitched 9 games at Cal.
I don't understand why you wouldn't think that they both have to be in every single day. And not you specifically, Mitch, but I'm saying if you're watching this team, you have to have both of them in the lineup. You have to. There is no reason to not. And then that still gives you a very valuable Gary Sanchez off the bench. Go ahead and pinch hit, like with some pop there. You give Contreras a day off when you move him around to catcher, whatever it is. I am not saying this as now I'm just the Jake Bowers guy. This is the best thing for the Brewers.
Right.
The best thing for the Brewers is both of them are in the lineup as frequently as possible, regardless of who's pitching. Lefty or right.
Offensively, there's no doubt. There's no argument that could be made that they are not at their best offensive team without Bowers and Vaughn in the lineup. I do think you can make the argument that in a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game, that even as early as the 7th inning, 6 seems a little early like last night, but as early as the 7th inning, you could make a defensive replacement. Unfortunately, one of them comes out of the game, but to lock down that outfield, because I agree with you. Left field is the easiest of the outfields. We all agree with that. But there could be times in September and knock on wood October that you need to not let a ball touch green. And you need to have Mitchell, Frelick, and Churio, or Perkins, Churio, and Frelick.
Garrett Mitchell
or whatever
really hasn't played that good in center field defensively. He really hasn't. I mean, I understand he's faster than Jake Bowers.
He has the talent to do it, though.
But he hasn't. He has not played that well in center field. He's better, maybe. Maybe he's better. Okay. Yeah. Better in the outfield than Jake is. But it really isn't like he's not better than Blake Perkins in center field defensively.
No,
he's not.
I agree with that.
So, and I'm not putting Blake Perkins out there to say that we need someone out there because of the defense. if I would rather have Blake Perkins be the defensive substitution in the outfield.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Then Garrett Mitchell be the defensive substitution in the outfield.
I think we all agree on that. All right. So there will be times in September, and again, knock on wood, October, that your defense is going to have to be Perkins, Churio, and Frelick. And that means there's not room for Yelich, Vaughn, and Bowers. There's room for 2 of them and not 3 of them. 414-677-1250 is the Nicolay Law Talking text line. If you want to chime in, do Bowers and Vaughn need to play regularly every day, at least for the foreseeable future, while they are both hot in this lineup for our Milwaukee Brewers? Brewers and the Miz against the Cubs tonight. We'll talk Brewers. We'll talk NBA. We'll talk Badgers. We'll talk everything with the polar bear. That's right. Brian Butch is next on the Mason Crosby Show. This is the Mason Crosby Show. I'm Mitch Nellis. Tommy Wirtz is here, and let's jump right into the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. Our good friend, Mr. Brian Butch. Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you boys doing?
We're doing great. It's always great to catch up. And I just thought, we could talk NBA Finals, we could talk Buck stuff, but just like with the Brewers and the Cubs going at it, I know you're such a big fan. I really wanted to start there. And how are you feeling about the Brewers so far this season? Bunch of guys healthy now. The offense looks pretty good. Obviously, last night was great. How are you feeling about our crew?
Well, I absolutely love it where it's at. They weathered the storm as far as the injuries go. I'm actually going to be at the game tonight, so I'm excited to go down there. First time I'll be at Wrigley. So I
first time ever?
About a bucket. First time ever. Why would I go to Wrigley? It's in Chicago. It's a you-know-what hole.
Awesome.
But that being said, there's one there. So I'll go check it out. It's a bucket list for Wrigley. So I'm excited about that. But those Chicago people, they all think they're better than everybody else. Ramie, that's all he does is tell everybody how good Chicago is constantly.
So Brian,
I love it.
Brian,
for 3 hours,
you
Ramie
go,
just
King.
wants to run his mouth about Chicago.
We gotta ask you, Brian.
The
Chanting
isn't even good there.
Chanting Green Bay sucks at a Cubs White Sox game, that is rent free, right? That is rent free in their head.
That's my point.
Yes.
they can't even have the thing that they have nice. They can't even have nice because they're worried about what we have.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's the reality of what it is to be a Chicago fan.
That's true.
And it always has been since I've been alive, and it always will be. I think it's just the reality of this. It's fun. But in all honesty, though, no, I am excited for what this team has done. I was worried if they were going to be able to weather the storm a little bit with all the injuries they have. Super jacked to be at the game tonight. I think that's going to be a fun atmosphere. Obviously, we know what Chicago's doing. We also know what the Brewers are doing. And it's a group that, when healthy, just continues to find ways. And I think that's obviously the starting pitcher has been a lead. Starting pitching has been a lead. But
Brian,
they just keep doing it, right?
Brian, why don't we go right there? Because tonight, not only are you going to Wrigley for the first time, not only are you going to Brewers Cubs, but you get to see Jacob Misiorowski pitch. And how exceptional has he been so far this year?
Well, what he's done has been remarkable. But I actually talked with Lane Grindle on Butchie's Den Friday.
Nice.
And I said, Lane, is there still more? Is there because to me, what we're seeing is straight power, and you're just going to just throw it as hard as you can. But is Miz polished yet? I would say over the last 3 starts, he's looked polished. But to me, I still think there's more left in him because he hasn't been in the pros that long. And the longer you're a pro, the more you become polished, the more you understand what needs to happen, situation. It's not just your athletic ability that takes over. It's everything you've got. And I think that's the area where Miz still has some room to wow us more.
I love that. Brian Butch joining us here on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. I want to switch gears. Brian, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're tall.
Some
Right?
days.
Yes.
I hit my head a lot. Thankfully, there's not a lot in there to worry about when I hit it, so we're good.
What's it like watching Wemby?
As a guy that is 7 foot, as a guy that could shoot before stretch bigs were something, there was a little bit ahead of the curve on that. So you're okay, but just the ability that he has. I mean, the logo 3 to tie it last night was ridiculous.
Yep.
The lob that they had to seal the game with 30-some seconds left. There's not much you can do to guard that. You just throw it up, and then at 7'4", he's going to go get it. Defensively, what they're doing is just putting them in the paint. They've got the zone that threw off OKC and what they were doing. But there's a reason, we talk about the NBA draft this year. Is there a 1-1? Well, there's a 1-1 and maybe a 1-2 with Peterson and AJ. But when Wemby was there, it was clear whoever wins the lottery is going to Wemby. And you can see why. There's generational talents. And then there's talents that it's a no-brainer. LeBron fit that mold and Wemby fit that mold. And I mean, you look at the Spurs roster in general, it's the youngest starting roster that we've had in the Western Conference Finals. This Spurs team is going to be around for a long, long time, guys.
All right. Go ahead. Because
Yeah,
I got to follow up on that.
I had
too.
a follow up on that because a couple of weeks ago, Sparky and Charlie were talking about it on Wisconsin Sports Daily. What would surprise you more if you look 10 years down the line, if the Thunder have more titles or if the Spurs have more titles in that 10-year stretch, Butch?
I think it would surprise me. It would surprise me if Oklahoma City did. Now, I think Oklahoma City wins this series this year.
Okay.
But it would surprise me over 10. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get that. I
mean, like, I think Oklahoma City has it. That'd be their second. Maybe they get one more the following year. But the way that the Spurs have done this, I don't see how, like, their lineup, it's so young, which means there's so many years. A lot of these guys, when you talk about prime age, you're talking 26, 27, 28, like prime athlete. Those are your ages that you really, like, when you look at it, you say, wow, these guys can really do some things. None of these guys are close to it. Like, that's the scary thing for the Spurs.
Yeah, it's all right. So, Brian, I had an epiphany today that it has like 0% fact or anything behind it. If the Spurs win and if Wemby dominates the Thunder, is there any way the Thunder enter the Giannis sweepstakes because they realize they don't have anybody who can stop Wemby over the next 5-10 years? And so they make a move to get Giannis because he's the only one tall, strong, and athletic enough to play defense against Wemby?
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible when you look at what Presti's done. They've got the assets. They've got a young nucleus. They've got. I don't. It's not in front of me, but I feel like they still have draft picks because
they do. They have a lottery pick this year.
I was just gonna say for SGA, like, they got so much there. So I'm sure there's still some draft picks out there. I'd say anything is possible with that because of what they have, and they also see what San Antonio has.
Yeah.
So they realize that window might be closing. So let's make this move now to be able to not, move that gap a little bit, maybe. I still think there's some other teams at play. I don't think Giannis stays. What Miles Turner said, like, you broke locker room, dude.
That was my next question, Brian.
I mean, everybody wants to go on about Giannis and late for planes and this and that. And, I heard Sparky, go after, somebody about this, like, Giannis is a bad teammate and he shows up late. You know what? It's called accountability. Everybody out there in the workforce, everybody. If you didn't have to be on working time, would you be at work at time?
Nope.
The answer is no.
Nope. I'd sleep in. I'd have a coffee at the coffee shop, and I'd roll in whenever.
You'd show up whenever you'd want to roll in. Like, that's the reality of the life we have. So, Doc, we knew this was an issue, the Doc situation. The accountability was that. Do I think Giannis was late all the time? I don't. Do I think that probably got talked about more than it should have? Yes. The conversation that needs to be talked about is either Giannis is being moved or Miles Turner is being moved, because you don't break the code of the locker room.
No.
Well,
I agree.
What Miles Turner did there, I have no problem with him going after Doc the way he did by sending the accountability. Why? Doc's not around anymore. Like, that relationship probably wasn't good. I didn't think Doc was using Miles the way that Miles needed to be used. I don't think Miles pushed the envelope at all. I think he should have tried to do some more things. Obviously, when the Bucks signed him, you thought you were going to get more out of Miles. I do actually think that's a Doc issue. I don't think that was a Miles issue. That being said, you can't go on a podcast and say Giannis is the guy that's late. Like, there's locker room things that can never be said. You can talk about what funny things that are said in the locker room. You can give some banter back and forth, but you cannot throw one of your teammates under the bus. So the question now becomes, who's gone? Is it Miles? Is it Giannis? That's the
or
thing
is
to
it
look
both?
at during the offseason.
Or is it both?
And it could be both too. I mean, it could be both too, for sure. But they're like, in my eyes, there's no way that I see them being teammates.
Yeah, I agree. Brian, tell everybody where we can find all your great stuff, because I know you are just like a content machine these days.
Well, some days, but we Butchie's Den on YouTube. Give that a follow. Obviously, Brian_Butch32 on TikTok, Instagram, X, all that, the rest of it. We're putting clips out there. I talked with the Badgers general manager, Mark Vander Wettering. Caught up with Nick Boyd last night as well. That'll be dropping at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. Nick had some great conversations, had a great conversation about what he said in the locker room after, but it was a positive what he said in the locker room as far as, hey, guys, this is what we need to do, which he didn't throw any of his teammates under the bus. He lifted his teammates up. maybe that's something Miles Turner should figure out.
That's right. Brian, thank you so much for jumping on today. Have fun at the game tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds great, guys. Thanks.
That's Brian Butch. Jack Stern coming up. Going to talk some more Brewers Cubs. Weather on the Fan brought to you by Milwaukee Area Napa Auto Care Association. It is 77 degrees, but those clouds look real cloudy. It's going to get down to 55, maybe even into the 40s overnight, but it's warm right now, so enjoy.
A Super Bowl champion.
The Green Bay Packers have won the Super Bowl.
The Packers' all-time leading scorer.
A game winner for Mason Crosby.
It's time for the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Nellis on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook and on the free Odyssey app.
This is hour number 2 of the Mason Crosby Show. My name is Mitchell Aaron Nellis. His name is Thomas Carl Wirtz. 2/3 of the Mason Crosby tribe.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's better than PCA.
Oh.
PCA is maybe there's something wrong with him.
Yeah, guaranteed. You know, did you hear Jeremy say that me and Tom Hecker should have a bet on dyeing your hair blue?
I did hear that.
Oh gosh, it would be hilarious to see Tom Hecker with blue hair.
That would be fantastic.
Oh,
Tom Hecker
so
in
good.
Thailand, by the way, huge sports historian.
Oh yeah.
Also does the stats at Bucks games. For a long time, did him at Notre Dame football games.
I think he still does Notre Dame.
I don't know if he does Notre Dame anymore.
He does a lot of stuff with television networks. Like he goes with Fox. Fox will like send him to different places and stuff like that. Yeah. Ball knower.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Ball knower.
Another noted ball knower, especially the bass version, joining us now. Longtime Brewers reporter and literally the best hair in the business, and it's not even close. Jack Stern in the house. Jack, how are you, sir?
I'm doing even better now that I got a compliment right off the bat, so thank you.
Am I a lot like? I mean, it is like and I admittedly I haven't covered a game this year, but I was at all the playoff games. I was at a lot of the September games last year. I got to start getting into the clubhouse and into the press conference. But I mean, I just got to imagine Rosiak just like he's got the most jealous of anybody. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. No, I don't hear about it directly enough. If we're sticking on like bald Journal Sentinel reporters, J.R. Radcliffe, I don't know if you know him. He
yes, of course, absolutely.
He might be the one who feels it a little more, actually. Or
that's true. Like Rosiak doesn't care as much, but yeah, that's fair. Well, thanks so much for jumping on, and obviously we are rejoicing in the joy of last night. The Brewers' first appearance against the Cubs this year, first matchup, and Jake Bauers has we all know Bryce String's like the best player on earth. But now Jake Bauers is also the best player on earth. And tonight, the best pitcher on earth is pitching, Mizrowski. It seems like we had Brian Butch on just now, and he said, we had to wait for the Brewers, especially those guys on offense who are hurt, to kind of weather the storm and get through it. It sure looks like offensively this team could be rounding into who we thought this team could be.
Yeah, I think when you look at this Brewers offense, in its best form, it's predicated on balance. You have guys up and down the lineup, some guys who are more of the scrappy type, the get on base type, steal a base, take an extra base, do things that way. Then you've got some guys like now Christian Yelich being back, Jake Bauers swinging the bat well, Jackson Chourio, Andrew Vaughn, Terang is in that mix now too, the guys who can kind of give you some extra base hits on top of that. And while a number of those guys were out, they were basically stuck with exclusively a lineup of those scrappy types, which you're going to be a little bit limited in some games when that's all you have. And I think we saw that, but they did a good job of finding ways to make that work in the short term. And now I think last night was really the perfect example of what that Brewers offense can do when all the pieces are in place. You saw a couple stretches where, they poke some ground balls through the hole. They work some long at bats against Shota Imanaga. But then you also had someone like a Jake Bauers to kind of deliver the knockout punch with the power. And when they have everybody, I think that's really what it can look like at its best.
Has Jake Bauers' emergence surprised you in any way? I don't know if I'm sure you and Tommy have talked about Jake in the past, and Tommy was a very early adopter of Jake Bauers here in Milwaukee. Now he's a household name in southeastern Wisconsin, and everybody just wants to see how far he's going to hit a ball next. Has anything he's doing surprised you or solidified that he needs to be in the lineup certainly more often than not, if not every day?
Yeah, nothing about this really surprises me right now. So the Jake Bauers train, since he got in Milwaukee, if you've been on the Jake Bauers train or following the Jake Bauers train for over 2 years now, it's been a wild ride. When the Brewers first acquired him, you could see what they were looking at. A guy who could hit the ball super, super hard, really developed a lot of power with the Yankees when the Brewers traded for him. The problem is he swung and missed a ton. A good plate discipline, too. Didn't chase a lot of pitches. Really good awareness of the strike zone. Just way too much swing and miss. So I was kind of on and off the bandwagon from 1 week to the next because he was just so streaky. If he was making enough contact, he would go on these stretches where he looks like the best hitter in the world for 2 weeks. Then he's not making any contact, and he looks like he shouldn't even be on a big league roster for 2 to 3 weeks. And that's kind of what we got through the first half of last year. But when he came off the IL, and we may have talked about this on the playoff show going into the playoffs, Tommy, about how he had in September his highest contact rate on pitches in the zone of any month of his career, and it wasn't even close. He was making contact with like 90% of pitches in the strike zone. And for me, for over 2 years, that had been the one missing piece that I was waiting to see. Is he just going to put enough balls in play where the power and the awareness of the strike zone and all this stuff was going to start coming into play? And he did it down the stretch last year. He did it into the playoffs last year. So I had a feeling going into this year that this was it. Like we were finally going to see it start to click. And I think we're seeing it right now. But to your point, Mitch, about just solidifying that he needs to be playing more, you did need to see it to really cement his name into that mix more concretely. And he's definitely done that. Even going into spring training, like I was a big proponent of as many times as you can, you got to find a way to start Jackson Chourio in center and then either Jake Bauers or Christian Yelich in left. And then you can have Bauers, Yelich, Andrew Vaughn, all of those guys in the lineup at the same time, because it just gives you so much more upside. And, I don't think it's a shock that when they did that last night at Wrigley, you had Chourio in center, Bauers in left, Yelich was in there, Vaughn's in there, all those guys, they put up 9 runs. So absolutely he deserves to be in there just about every day. And with Chourio being back, with Garrett Mitchell struggling a little bit at the plate, both on offense and on defense, I really, really believe that they got to find a way to try to make that alignment work, because I do think that's the best offensive, for sure, version of their lineup.
Well, and Jack Stern over at Brew Fanatic joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. You can follow him on Twitter at @ByJackStern. Garrett Mitchell was where I was going to go next, and you brought him up in that. Is he going to end up with this short end of the stick in your mind? Is this something that, because he just hit the hardest baseball all year over the weekend, right? In Minnesota, where he ripped that one. And everyone knows what peak Garrett Mitchell could look like. But this is now the largest sample size, really, we have gotten out of Garrett Mitchell on a consistent basis. And you want to talk about swings and misses too much. Like Garrett Mitchell, if you throw him a high fastball, he's never going to touch it, it feels like, at the big league level. How concerned are you about Garrett Mitchell's development, or just in the immediate future now of his role on this Brewers team?
Yeah, I don't know if his role is quite at risk yet. And the only reason I say that is because I know that there's people in the Brewers front office who just really, really love, like you said, what it looks like when it's clicking and the athleticism and all this stuff. Like I've said pretty consistently since Garrett Mitchell got up here that I don't think it's ever going to click for him in a full season because there's that hole at the top of the zone. But he has the highest physical ceiling out of anybody on this 40-man roster. It's higher than Jackson Chourio. Like The strength,
Yep.
the speed, the defense, the power, the entire thing, like what he is physically capable of, nobody matches that. The problem is there's just these holes that you talked about and that everybody's talked about. I've talked about for a long time, so we don't need to rehash the entire thing for the 85th time since he's been up here. But I do think you're starting to see slowly but surely pitchers are attacking that hole at the top a little bit more aggressively. And to his credit, the home run that he hit in Minnesota, it was a high fastball. It was an 88-mile-an-hour high fastball, though, so I don't know if that necessarily proves a ton yet. But you got to give him credit for, I think, just getting to that pitch to begin with, because we weren't even seeing him touch those. But over time, if this continues, I think a few more weeks of this, and you're really going to be starting to feel some pressure for a little bit of a change with how they're doing things in the outfield. I don't know if it's coming yet. I think what happened last night, though, is probably a good sign on the front of, like what we talked about, Churio in center, Bowers in left, kind of reshuffling that. I would guess that for Mitchell, though, that there's just guys in the organization who love the athleticism so much that they're probably going to give him a little bit more of a leash here. But if I'm running things, I'm really strongly considering about changing some things up there. And also, like, maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Garrett Mitchell to get lower pressure at bats in a different setting, depending on how this all kind of plays out. But I'm just in this spot still where I love the ceiling. Don't think he's going to reach it because there's that big hole, and there just really hasn't been much progress at all at closing that.
Well, and now let's talk about the left side of the infield, because the Brewer, McCalvy, I think, just had a piece out today that I didn't get to read quite yet, but the left side of the infield, they have one home run, and it's from Joey Ortiz all season so far, with Hamilton and Rengifo also playing a part in that. And it is possibly the most loaded the Brewers have in the farm at shortstop, or the flexibility of third base from a guy like a Cooper Pratt, or even more recently, Jet Williams, now coming on to his own here. And I wanted to know, what is a timeline on a change maybe on the left side of the infield? Because time is running out for a David Hamilton, Luis Rengifo, a Joey Ortiz, it feels like, with the fan base, with the production they've been getting.
Well, and before we discuss that, we know you just did a feature on David Hamilton. How about there are people in the organization who don't even think he's close to how good he can be, which, and how patient can they be with a guy like David Hamilton with those other guys knocking on the door?
Yeah, so a couple of things here. The first one is, I think the biggest reason that you've seen no change yet is that the Brewers are usually quick to make these changes. They've been quick to make these changes when they have guys who are ready right behind them, and that hadn't really been the case. Cooper Pratt and Jet Williams, it took them a few weeks to really get going against AAA pitching. So I think that was part of the reason why we didn't see a change. Like last year when they started the year with Oliver Dunn at third base, they made a change very quickly because Caleb Durbin was maybe not 100% ready, but he was close to ready. I don't know that they quite had that this year, but we're getting a lot closer to that now. Jet Williams is swinging the bat really, really well. Cooper Pratt has been hitting the ball pretty hard over the last couple of weeks here. We're getting to a point here where I think we are nearing a decision, and we're nearing a little bit of a shakeup there. The question now is, number one, which guy comes up? And connected, number two, which guy do they want to move on from? If I'm picking a guy to move on from, I would move on from Luis Rengifo, because I think he's just the most limited of those three guys. He's not hitting for any power. The defense has been okay at third base, but he can't play shortstop. He's not really bringing you a lot on the bases with his speed. Like, he's just not doing a whole lot. And David Hamilton, for as limited as he's been, at least he's getting on base at an okay rate with the bunts and the infield hits and the walks. And once he's on base, he can steal a base, take extra bases. Joey Ortiz, we know what he does with the glove. Like, those guys are not good players right now, but at least they're bringing something. And I don't think Rengifo is really bringing anything. The question now, though, is would you want to be willing to cut a guy who you've committed a little bit of money to this year instead of riding that out a little longer? I don't know. If I had to pick one, I would kind of lean toward, my decision would be cut Rengifo and you bring Jet Williams up here to play almost every day third base, and you can kind of pair him and Hamilton and Ortiz and kind of move those guys around and decide where you want to go. If they want to pick Cooper Pratt, who's on the 40-man, I think you would have to bring Cooper Pratt up here to play everyday shortstop. And then the question then is, does that mean Joey Ortiz gets optioned? Because I just don't think that they would want to option David Hamilton. I really don't. And like you said, Mitch, with the story that I wrote, they really do believe that there is a lot there. And I believe them too, because I think they're measuring a lot of these guys just based on their athleticism. And if you're just looking at athleticism, David Hamilton has a lot of it. He's very quick. He's very explosive. He's a little bit stronger than you would guess. The problem is he just has not figured out how to leverage that athleticism at all, except for running, basically, and running very quickly. So they're working with him on that stuff. The Brewers also do not have a great recent track record of helping guys figure that kind of stuff out, but they have an idea in place. They're working on kind of staying on the baseball and not pulling off of it. They're working on some stuff on defense with learning the nuances of shortstop, learning how to control his body a little better with reps. So I think they're working on the right things with him. Is it going to click? I don't know, but I kind of understand why they feel the way they do about him. So, like I said, it's down to Williams and Pratt. I think we're going to see one of those two pretty quickly here within a few weeks. The question is, which one do you pick? And then based on which one do you pick, which one of those guys loses a spot? Hamilton kind of feels like the last guy to me that they would want to send down, though, because even if he's on the bench, he can kind of fill that utility role. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and his speed's extraordinary. And as we also know, though, Ortiz can play third base, and he probably plays it better than Rengifo defensively. Right?
Dumb question that came up yesterday on the post-game show that was an interesting topic of discussion. Obviously not going to happen and no speculation around it. But in a hypothetical world, would you trade Joey Ortiz for Caleb Durbin?
Ooh.
Isn't that it's a dumb question and it's not on the table,
right?
But just everyone was so upset when Caleb Durbin goes. Caleb Durbin is gone. Caleb Durbin's out, right? And we've known Joey Ortiz has had his woes for over a year now. But when that was brought up to me, no, I would keep Joey Ortiz. I think right over Caleb Durbin if it was a 1-for-1 swap.
Is Caleb Durbin going to be better than Rengifo?
Caleb Durbin's going to be better than Rengifo.
He hasn't been this year.
He would, over a longer sample, I think he'd be better than Rengifo. I think there's a little more in there than what we've seen from Rengifo. Like Durbin's not a good hitter. I don't think he's ever been a good hitter. Even last year, I think he was getting by with some stuff, but I think he's got an awareness of how he needs to hit. Like he gets a lot of mileage out of what he does. He's a really good third baseman now. Can't play shortstop. It's tricky because between him and Ortiz, you're basically picking between one of the worst hitters in baseball, but one of the best defensive shortstops, or a guy who's a slightly below average hitter, but a very, very good defensive third baseman. To me, the value kind of comes out as a wash. Maybe Ortiz comes out ahead a little bit, but it's an interesting hypothetical for sure.
Right?
That's
right.
fun.
You should bring that up to the beat next time you see him and see what happens, because I think that would
everybody's
bring
head
in,
explodes.
Right. Yeah. It was a dumb question that was brought up by Pipe Bomb yesterday, but then I thought, wow, that's actually, I think I'm picking Joey Ortiz after all of that. And I did. And we all have tried to write him off at some point this season, it feels like.
Sure.
And by no means am I trading him for Caleb Durbin, I don't think. Jack Stern joining us here on the Mason Crosby Show. Let's go over to pitching because it's been phenomenal. The starting pitching, unreal. They now have 4 Aaron Ashbys on their team instead of just one Aaron Ashby also now during this stretch. I want to know what young pitcher, you can develop your own definition of young. What young pitcher?
Literally everyone who's on the active roster, I think.
After Jacob Mizorowski, because he's the obvious number one answer. But what is the other young pitcher that you are the most excited about with this Brewers pitching development and this season so far? Because Harrison, Drowan, Sproat, Henderson, they've all looked fantastic at points this season. Which one gets you the most excited based on what you're projecting for the future and the sample size we have in 26 so far?
I'm actually starting to get really excited about Logan Henderson because we know the fastball changeup combo is really, really good. It's always been really, really good. If that's all you throw, though, that kind of gives you some limits as a starting pitcher. So the question going into this year was going to be, can he develop some other secondaries? He's done that now. He basically went back to trying to throw a curveball again. And when he tries to throw a curveball from his arm slot, it basically turns into this big sweepy slider, which is way better in my mind than what he had last year, where it was like trying to throw this tight little slider that didn't really break a whole lot, kind of looked a little bit like the cutter sometimes. This is a bigger pitch that at times it's moving as much to the glove side, so away from a righty, as his changeup would move to the arm side, so into a righty or away from a lefty. So he's covering way more territory left and right now when he pitches guys, and that just gives him, in my mind, way more weapons. And now he can kind of use that cutter as more of an in-between pitch between fastball, changeup, and between the curveball, instead of the cutter needing to be a good pitch on its own. It can just kind of be an in-between pitch, so you don't really need as high of expectations for that. He's just got a more balanced way to attack guys now. And, I don't think his results have even fully reflected how well he's pitched so far. He's had some good starts for sure, but he's getting a lot of swing and miss. He's not walking guys. He's keeping the ball in the ballpark. Like, those are all things that should bode very, very well for a pitcher. And he's doing it now with a better arsenal and a more starter-like arsenal than he had last year. So if he's got this kind of stuff now, like, he's the one that I'm looking at where this could be a long-term number 3 starter instead of a guy who a year ago I thought was probably going to have to move to the bullpen.
Jack Stern on the guest hotline, powered by Gruber Law. You mentioned that about Henderson, but then, I just look at the guys who've pitched for the team this year and who've pitched well. And I look at Shane Drowan, who comes in last night, and I had a man crush on Logan Henderson before the season started, and I still do, but now I've one on Shane Drowan also. But then you look at what Harrison's done. You look at DL Hall's numbers. You look at Aaron Ashby's numbers. You look at Coleman Crow's numbers. It's like, at what point do we get that there's like this embarrassment of riches? And do you think we haven't even mentioned Quinn Priester, and you can give us an update on what his, and we know there's been some bumps in the road in his rehab, but does the rest of baseball, as much as they've said over the past year that like people are starting to recognize the Brewers for what they're doing with young pitchers and trading, we talked about Caleb Durbin. To get Drowan and Harrison, who could be on the staff for the next 6-7 years as really big pieces of that staff, does the rest of baseball really get what the Brewers are doing? Or do they just kind of look at it like, oh, they caught lightning in a bottle again, but it can't last, or it's gotta regress to the mean, or whatever that might be? How does baseball see what the Brewers are doing with young pitchers?
So I do think that just for developing pitchers and getting into kind of the technical side of pitching, I don't know that the Brewers are quite as unique as they used to be. I think several years ago, they were on like the cutting edge of all this stuff. And that's not to say that they're still not good at it. They're still very, very good at it. I think it's just that the rest of the league has also gotten pretty good at it as well. Like, that's a big reason why pitching across the league is so good and why hitting has gone down across the league, because now everybody is doing like okay, what kind of traits are the hardest to hit? What kind of movement is the hardest to hit? How do we bring in guys who throw these kinds of pitches or can throw these kinds of pitches and do that kind of stuff? Maybe the one area where the Brewers are still a little bit ahead of the pack is they don't always try to put guys into a box. They just kind of let guys do whatever they do best, basically, and try to maximize that. I think there's some teams that kind of think that everybody can do everything. Like, Harrison's a good example. Like, when he was in Boston, they were trying to get him to throw like a cutter and all these kinds of different pitches that he just couldn't throw great. So when he got to the Brewers said, we're not even going to throw that anymore, because it's not something that your hand and your arm slot and all this stuff, it's not something that you do well naturally. Let's go back to throwing what you throw the best. But overall, in terms of like arsenal development and this kind of stuff, I don't know that they're necessarily on the cutting edge anymore. Like, they're still near the top. But like I said, baseball, I think as a whole, is just kind of caught up to it. What I think they're doing now that you might see other teams lean into even more is just how many of these guys they bring in. They have basically an entire rotation in AAA, and I think a lot of teams would have said, this is too many guys. Like, we don't need this many guys. We can look elsewhere, and we can bring in other kinds of players. Maybe look more for position player depth, look more for these kinds of players. But now you're seeing that the Brewers they just keep chugging along no matter which pitcher gets hurt, because they have an entire rotation in AAA.
Do you remember when Matt Arnold got Kyle Harrison, Brandon Sprout, and Shane Drowan all in one offseason? Like, that just happened. That was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
It was ridiculous that Matt Arnold pulled that off.
Yeah, and I'll admit, like, I was in the camp of like, okay, maybe they have one or two too many guys where maybe they'd be better off trading one of those guys for more position player depth. They didn't, and they were very firm the entire time. Like, they said, no, we are going to need every single one of these starting pitchers. And they've basically used every single one of these starting pitchers already. So they were right. Like they were totally right about this. And this is where I wonder if now they're kind of doing something that other teams aren't in 2026, which is basically building a 12-man starting rotation and using that throughout the season, whereas other teams maybe don't have that embarrassment of riches. So maybe what other teams are going to start looking at now and being like, oh man, they figured something else out is you actually need this many guys and you got to find a way to bring them all in and maximize what they're doing and all this kind of stuff. So now this is where I wonder if this is the new thing that the Brewers are doing really well that other teams aren't quite doing yet. And are others going to catch on now of, hey, like let's bring in as many big league ready starting pitchers as we can. And there's nothing wrong with keeping them in AAA for a while until we need them, because this is going to be how we kind of raise our floor as a team and win more games in the regular season.
Well, and isn't it amazing that we're talking about the entire pitching staff, and the strength over the past couple of years has been the back of the bullpen. And it seems like that's where the concern is this year. So I feel like McGill has figured something out. I feel like Uribe still isn't quite right. Am I right to be concerned about Abner Uribe?
So I've been less concerned about him than McGill for most of the season. And I think I'm still there because to me, like Abner's stuff looks normal now. It didn't look normal for the first couple of weeks of the year. To me, if that's in place, everything else is so small. Like baseball is a game of inches. It's a game of millimeters sometimes when you're on the mound. And I think he just hasn't quite been as sharp with the execution of some of these pitches as he'd like to be. I think some of the sequencing has been off a little bit when he's been on the mound, which is anytime you're talking sequencing, that's also a catcher thing. That's not just a pitcher thing. But to me, the stuff looks really good. I'm getting a little concerned that he's not getting ground balls. That's probably the biggest one. But I just feel like over the long run, things are going to start to even out for him. As far as McGill goes, like I have not felt very confident about his fastball when he's been throwing 97. But I will give him credit. He has figured some things out. He's done a way better job of spotting it lately. He's throwing the curveball more off of it to kind of keep guys off balance. He's been a little more unpredictable and I think a little more strategic in how he's throwing the baseball. Because before, when he was throwing triple digits, he could basically use the approach of, I'm going to try to throw every pitch right down the middle, right by the hitter. Fastball is going to kind of stay true at the top of the zone. Curveball, if I'm aiming down the middle, it's going to drop down to the dirt. Those are going to tunnel off of each other. I'm going to get a lot of swing and miss. It's going to work great. And it did. That was the right approach for a while. But now that he's lost the velocity, he's needed to be a little bit more methodical. And that was going to be the adjustment that it took to make him useful again. He's made that adjustment. And to be honest, it's been better than I thought it was going to be. So I have to give him credit for that. But when I'm still looking at stuff, I still think Uribe has a little more margin for error. That hasn't quite been what we've seen in the results so far. But to me, I would just need to see him struggle for a couple more weeks before I started getting too concerned.
Gotcha. Jack, thank you so much for jumping on today. We had an absolute blast in the middle of the Brewers-Cubs series. Game one went well. Miz on the mound tonight. I know you're jumping on Friday on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, and we can't wait to hear more and read more great articles as they come out at Brewer Fanatics. So thanks so much for jumping on today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. He is Jack Stern. Follow him on the socials by Jack Stern and read his latest article about David Hamilton and what the ceiling he has according to the Brewers. We come back. We'll talk a little bit more NBA playoffs. Eastern Conference Finals start tonight. Wemby was unbelievable last night. He is Thomas Carl. I'm Mitchell Aaron. We are the Mason Crosby Show. This is the Mason Crosby Show. Mitchell, Aaron, and Thomas Carl with you. You think that confuses anybody, Tommy? When I go,
Probably.
You think so? Yeah, got it, right? Our thanks again to Jack Stern for jumping on, and before him, Brian Butch, both joining us on the guest hotline powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. Brewers taking on the Cubs tonight. Mizorowski is facing someone with a better ERA than himself. Ben Brown, has a crazy ERA.
He was, I believe, going to be a reliever.
I think that's
most
right.
of the time this year.
Yep.
And then ended up that was not the case.
Yeah, that is correct. He was a reliever just until I think his last two games where he has pitched. He pitched 4 innings against Texas on the 8th, 4 innings against Atlanta on the 14th. He's pitched 8 innings and given up 1 hit as a starter. Not 1 run, 1 hit.
However,
2 walks, 10 strikeouts.
I have to hear always how great Shota Imanaga looks every time before he comes.
We talked about it yesterday. I told you the Brewers were going to wreck him.
They own Shota Imanaga.
Mhm.
I mean, uncomfortable. He should be terrified to pitch against the Brewers.
No, I
don't think he can pitch against the Brewers.
Craig
anymore.
should have been smarter. Craig should have figured out a way for Shota to not face the Brewers.
Yeah, he can't. He
cannot pitch.
He cannot do it,
Which is kind of wonderful.
And he's a stud against everyone else.
Yep.
So I'm not worried about Ben Brown yet.
The Brewers as a team are hitting 151 off Ben Brown with a 432 OPS. No home runs, no triples. The only doubles are William Contreras, Blake Perkins, and Christian Yelich. So who you gonna have in your parlay? I think you gotta have Wild Bill in your parlay tonight.
Think so?
He's 3 for 9 with a double against him. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Just giving a little free Potawatomi sportsbook advice here on the Mason Crosby Show. All right. I know. And I get it. Really, I do. I get it. I get regular season NBA is hard to watch. I get it. I understand. The Bucks, we here in Wisconsin are Bucks fans. The Bucks sucked this year. And the more we find out about the absolute garbage can that Doc Rivers was as a head coach, like he might have been good 15 years ago. He was really good 18 years ago. But absolute garbage can, trash can, abysmal, dumpster, the fire. There's poop there too. It was just like abysmal what the Bucks were this year. And Doc Rivers takes a ton of that blame. I'm telling you, people, playoff basketball is a different animal. Playoff basketball is a different animal. And I know it's annoying. Why don't they play this hard all 82 games? Well, because the games aren't as important. You can't tell me that the intensity of 162 baseball games is the same as playoff baseball. Football's a little different. There's only 17 games. You lose a game, that's a big deal. 1/17 is a big deal. It's not, you're still not getting the same intensity, but it's a big deal. Baseball, I get it. But in basketball, it is a different game. When players play, when they don't play, load management, whatever they're doing. But if you missed last night's game between the Thunder and the Spurs, and I'm guessing many of you did, do yourselves a favor and watch a little bit of Spurs Thunder. I'm not vouching for Cavs Knicks. I think the Cavs are pretty boring. I don't love the way, unless Donovan Mitchell goes nuts for 45 and gets really hot. The Knicks are more entertaining than the Cavs. But I'm kind of like, it's the A series versus the B series. The Spurs and the Thunder were the two best teams in the league all season long. The Spurs have a 7'5" guy doing things that no 7'5" guy's ever done before in the history of Earth. The Thunder have the two back-to-back MVP, who, as much as I don't love the style of play that he embellishes foul calls and is the free throw merchant, he's still real. Without all that, he's still really, really, really good. Like, he's still the MVP of the league. He's not the MVP of the league because he gets to the line 8 to 10 times a game. He's the MVP of the league because he can get to any spot on the floor he wants to get to and makes the shot. So do yourselves a favor, and if you have the opportunity to get to a television near you for the Western Conference Finals, I think it would behoove you, if you like basketball but dislike NBA regular season, I think it would be worth watching the Western Conference Finals. I just do. I think they are entertaining. I think the teams play hard. And I just think the Eastern Conference Finals, which start tonight, Cavs and Knicks, that is on ESPN. But the Spurs and Thunder, I don't know if every game's on NBC. So again, we talk about free TV versus not free TV. I know every game is on Peacock. And I think most games are on NBC. Tommy in Bayview writes it on YouTube. I can't stand Wemby. I mean, then you hate yourself.
Yeah, you're a hater.
Like, yeah,
he's crazy.
Right.
He is unreal. He
Yeah.
just put up 41 and 24 yesterday. Like, he has to play. That's the part of this. And Brian Butch mentioned it at the end of the first hour.
Yep.
That he still thinks the Thunder take this series. That's because Wemby has to play like this every single day in order to beat the Thunder. If he does not put up ridiculous, not from this earth numbers every single time, yeah, I also agree. The Thunder are going to win the series.
Right. And so they probably are, because to go 41 and 24 is crazy. Now, can his supporting cast play better? They probably can play a little bit better if they needed to. But I just think, you have a 62 win team and a 64 win team. And I just think it's fantastic basketball that we are watching right now. Ram is on the north side of Milwaukee. Ram, you're up on the Mason Crosby show. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good, Mitch. Didn't I meet you at the Brats and Beer?
Yeah.
Weren't you there when
At the Milwaukee Broad House in Shorewood on Oakland? Absolutely.
I think you were there that day.
I did. I popped in late. Tommy was holding it down. He was the star. But I think one of my coworkers had ordered some cheese curds. So, I'm only in Whitefish Bay. So I hear there's cheese curds, and I got in my car right away and came over.
Sound like you.
Yep.
I watched the game last night, and I don't have a dog in this race, but I thought it was a interesting game. I just think the two teams are somewhat equal.
Mm-hmm.
But Wemby, he's good, but I grew up during the Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain era, so I'm not even trying to compare him to them. But I think going forward, he has a chance to probably be in that conversation, but he has to be consistent with it.
Right. I mean, he's so young, and
like
it's so early in his career.
Right. But Kareem, like I was telling somebody last night, go look at Wilt Chamberlain's stats his first year in the league.
Yep.
And they forget that Wilt dominated and led in every statistical category of his career.
He was a different animal when he came into the league. Right. It was kind of like when Babe Ruth came into Major League Baseball. No one had ever hit home runs before. All of a sudden, what he was doing in one season was what everyone else had done their whole careers.
And don't forget, Wilt was a professional volleyball player and track and field in all offseason. So he was an Iron Eagle athlete. So
yes, he was.
And Kareem had the hook shot. So and dominated. I'm talking about dominate from wire to wire. So these new guys come along, I don't think they still had a passion. They're growing into it. But overall, Mitch, I think when it comes down to it, I think the Knicks take it all.
Man, Ram, I was born and raised in Boston, and so the Celtics and the Knicks, you don't like each other. The Red Sox and Yankees don't like each other. It would be something for basketball. If the Knicks
for the New York to win, it would be
that would be something.
It would be a rematch.
Knicks and Spurs.
Maybe this time the tables will turn, but I think right now, out of all the teams, they got the most experience. The Knicks got the most players with the most players. And I think going into playoffs, the younger team got to get their bumps and bruises. I'll call it rites of passage. But I don't know. I think it's this. I think Mike Brown hit a lever, and he got the Knicks playing. I mean,
he definitely does. The thing I'm worried about them, we'll see tonight, they've just had 11 days off, which is a long time. Ram, thanks for the call, my friend.
All right, man. Yep.
Ram drops off. N. Conson writes in, wasted time to watch NBA basketball. N. Conson, that's what I'm telling you. We're not watching, when you watch the playoffs, it's not NBA basketball. It's basketball. We're not watching regular season basketball right now. And Tommy says that he thinks Wemby's far too young to be so arrogant. I mean, I just think you're not paying attention then, because I don't think he's that arrogant. I think he's a competitor. I think he's fighting hard. Somebody on the text line wants to know if I think the free throw merchant would be the MVP if you take away the 100 free throws he shoots a game. I can't watch the Thunder. You're not alone. There's a lot of people who can't watch the Thunder. I get that. Tommy, what do you got for me? You're mad at Wemby.
Okay.
You hate him.
I can't stand Wemby.
What?
Another person I can't stand is Otani.
Why?
So
Otani
I may be the biggest hater in the world.
Oh, no. Then you're not watching because Otani is like literally having the most fun of anyone on the baseball field ever. All he does is smile and have a good time.
The Dodgers are ruining baseball.
Right. That I agree with. But it's not Otani. Otani's the best player ever. And he's just having fun out there. He's having fun with opponents. He's having fun with teammates. He brings positivity in a way that Americans don't because Americans do take it too businesslike.
I just don't like him. I don't like him, and I don't like Wembayama. I think Wembayama looks like an alien.
That's not a reason to not like what he does on the basketball court, though.
I don't like the way he plays. I don't like.
Well, he's 7'5". We've never seen a guy do what he's done before. He's still trying to figure out how to play.
He seems so smug.
I don't know. I just think he's figuring it out and he's competing. Don't you want Jake Bowers to be a little smug when he hits a 3-run bomb in Wrigley?
Kind of, but here's what I'm looking forward to. The next person who can take Wembayama down and the big rivalry that'll bring.
That would be fantastic.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
You know what? I'm looking forward to that as well because if it brings out the best in all of them, I think that's great. Tommy, thanks for the call. 414-677-1250, the Nicolay Law Talking text line. Send in your text. Give us a call. We're just having fun here, just like Shohei has fun, just like Wemby's having fun. And basically, when I think of like the Mount Rushmore of who in sports these days, it's like Otani, Wemby, Thunder, and Tommy. This is the Mason Crosby Show. 262 says positive vibes only. Tommy and Stalis says he's not smug, he's French. Wemby's worth watching. That's all I know. This is the Mason Crosby Show.
So is Ohtani.
Right. Well, obviously Ohtani is. I didn't know I had to explain that one. Mitchell Aaron and Thomas Carl with you on the Mason Walker Show.
Yeah.
Right. Mason Walker.
Should I have gone by Thomas Carl?
Tommy Carl.
Thomas Carl.
Should I have gone by Mitchell Aaron?
Do you know the origin of Tommy? Because no one else calls me Tommy, by the way.
Yeah.
But the origin of Tommy was I was working at the Kenosha Kingfish.
Okay.
And on the last game of the year,
yeah,
I got to do color commentary. First broadcast gig I ever got of anything ever. Last game of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the play-by-play guy, James Stanley.
Okay. 2 first names.
But that was his last name.
Okay.
I asked him, should I go by Tom, Thomas, or Tommy? And he said, Tommy sounds the best.
Okay.
And that's what happened from that moment on.
How do you feel about that?
I never turned back.
So we have James Stanley. Where's he today?
He was a Mizzou alum. I think he went down there and he was doing production work for a news station last I remember, but I haven't talked to him in quite a while.
You should give him a shout.
Yeah.
Yeah, see what he's up to.
We'll probably have his number.
We should get him on the show.
I'll see what he's doing.
Yeah, you never know. Brewers Cubs tonight. Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. Can't miss viewing tonight. And you got to listen to the leadoff show with Tommy Wirtz coming up at 5 o'clock tonight, right?
5 o'clock, hour and a half.
This is the Mason Crosby Show. We'll do it again tomorrow.
I was